Now we can go to a small demo session where we will be first setting up our environment in our system to do programming in C++, and the basic structure of a C++ program also we can cover in this section. So throughout this course we will be using an integrated development environment where we will be writing, compiling and running C++ programs. And the development environment I suggest throughout this course to use in this modern environment is Visual Studio Code application. So Visual Studio Code is a popular code editor by Microsoft which you can use in different platforms, even Windows, Debian, Linux and Mac. So my system is Mac OS, so I have already downloaded the Visual Studio Code over my computer. So let me show you the Visual Studio Code downloaded. So it's a free software. You don't need to worry about the licensing part. You can just go to this website and download it from the website. So it's very easy to use Visual Studio Code and it's a free software. So I will just open the Visual Studio Code here. So as you can see over here, this is the start screen of Visual Studio Code. And one more thing which you have to do while you want to run C++ program in Visual Studio Code is you can go to the extension part of the this program and you can search for an extension for C or C++. This extension is very much required to start developing with the C++ in your computer. So you can install the C install module or extension provided by Microsoft. This will help you to create the programming environment setup in your computer. And if you want to compile and run these programs, you can read the documentation provided with this software, where you will be able to see how you can use the development tools in compiling and running the program. So let's start. So here we can create a new file for creating our first C++ program. The most famous program which programmers write in our beginning of our programming studies, Hello World program. So Hello World program is a simple program which will display a hello world in whatever terminal which we use. So here you can see a terminal window in this Visual Studio Code. And if you are not seeing it in your system, then what you need to do is there will be a terminal icon in your or terminal menu bar in your Visual Studio Code. There you can go and create a new tab. There you will be getting this window called terminal. So now let's start creating our first program. So each and every programming language will have a syntax. So when we create a C++ program, we will require to use a particular syntax when we create our first program. So the first mandatory keyword which we use to write a C++ program is #include. Then we will give a header file iostream.h. So here you can see this statement is called preprocessor directive. Now this statement, even if I have wrote it, it's not having any highlight or any difference because I haven't saved this file as C++. So it's always better to start saving your file as C++. Then the compiler or our C++ IDE Visual Studio Code will automatically start suggesting you different syntax and everything so that your programming is more easy. So I'm saving this program as hello world .cpp. So CPP should be the extension of all the C++ programs. So now you can see the syntax is having a different color and it's highlighted, and even everything will be shown. Every error message or every kind of messages will be shown in the IDE itself. And why we are using this statement, that's one more point which we need to discuss. So when we use #include iostream, you should know that iostream is a file in the system called a header file. So this header file will be having all the information about the functions and default things which we have we will be start using in the program. So we will be using some functions, inbuilt functions to display something, right, to print something on the screen. For that also we have a lot of keywords in the C++. So all these keywords and everything required for the basic running of a program is being designed or defined inside the iostream.h header file. So in order to include that header file in our program, we are using this statement called hash include iostream, and this statement is called preprocessor directive. Preprocessor directive. So we can use a lot of preprocessor directive that will be meant for each and every function. We will be having a separate look onto that preprocessor directives while we navigate on the course further. So now just understand, this statement is required for functioning of the C++ program properly. So this is the preprocessor directive. We do have a lot of preprocessor directive, and here you can see I have used 2 double slashes to write the comment. Comment means that's not a program executable statement. It's not an executable statement. It's just we should be writing a lot of comments throughout the program to understand what that line particularly means. So that's a always good practice to use a lot of comments, and we can always use single line comments or multiple line comments. So using slash and writing something after it is a single line comment, which after this line that will not be, the next statement will not be a comment. And if we want to write multiple lines of comment, that also is possible in C++. That is done with the help of multi-line comment statements like slash, star, then star, slash. So what is the peculiarity of this operator or this symbol is, what all things we write inside this symbol, it will not be compiled or run by the program. It's just for our developers to understand what the coming lines are. So if you write even multiple lines inside this statement, from start slash star and then end star slash, that will be a comment. So you can even write multiple lines of code inside that, but that does not execute. So what all things you can write over the multiple lines on this code, it will not get executed. You can write whatever you want, but it should be meaningful and it should be something that you can use to understand what the statements are actually meaning in this program. So that's why we use comments. So I am just deleting this unnecessary comment, and let's go to the next statement of the program. So next I am using a namespace keyword. So using namespace std. That is my next line, and I will be putting a semicolon over there. So this is one basic syntax which a program should have. So here you can see I have used a keyword called using, and also I have added namespace and std. So what this line means, these things like what all things I write in the program, that is in a scope called namespace. We will be learning more about namespace also, so you need not to worry about this one. So here in this program we are using a standard namespace called std, which will have more definitions to input and output statements in the